Welcome to Paneloids, Comic Books, and More, your go-to source for all things comic books, including news, rumors, leaks, reviews, and in-depth creator interviews. I am your host tonight. We got our producer, Kits Me Over the Garden Wall, Kyle, and not one, but two very beautiful flowers, Mr. Michael W. Conrad and John J. Pearson. Thank you guys for joining us. Welcome back, John. Welcome for the first time, Mr. Michael. To kick things off, introduce yourselves to those who haven't seen you before. We'll start with Michael first, since you're the newcomer. Let us know about your work in comics and other stuff so far.
All right. Hi, my name is Alan Moore.
Got the beard for it.
You know what? Looking at myself right now, I'm like, damn, it's happening. The transition is going on. That's all right. I'm a big fan of Alan Moore. My name's Michael Conrad. I'm a comic book writer. You might be familiar with some of the stuff that I've written for DC. I wrote Wonder Woman, Batgirl, Superman, Batman, a lot of Animal Man stuff. Exo Manowar, look at that. One of the brave soldiers who went over to the Valiant. Yeah, and I'm here today to talk about some of my creator-owned works, specifically In Bloom, which I'm lucky enough to partner with John J. Pearson on. So, John, why don't you tell them a little bit about who you are? And if you would be so kind as to just like shake your head around a little bit to show everyone that
The lovely locks.
Yeah, look at that.
Hello, I'm John J. Pearson. I'm a comic artist and illustrator. You might have seen my work. The Infernals, Mindset. I worked on Blue and Green. I've done guest art on Hellblazer. I've done lots of music-related projects for bands like Megadeth and Pantera, Blondie, The Doors. I've done a lot of illustration work, mainly horror, doing licensed work for films like Suspiria and The Thing. And yeah, I draw a lot of stuff. So that's
I didn't see your Suspiria poster at New York until like a photo. Like I didn't see it on Thursday. I don't know if you had it out.
I didn't have the poster there. I just had the tapes.
I saw that after the fact. I was like, God damn it, why didn't I see that when I was there? Because what you did with Suspiria was absolutely beautiful.
One of the ways that I know you're a better person than me is if I were you, I would be like, I am Eisner-Award-winning Pearson. So while you might not be able to point to that, I'm going to point to it for you. John's got an Eisner. That's a very coveted thing.
Why isn't it behind you right now?
It's on the other side of the room up there. I cannot be in a podcast with my eyes. But yeah, thank you, Michael. I have won an Eisner Award. It was jointly with Anand RK for Best Painted Interior Artwork, and that was for Blue and Green. So I did the color work on Blue and Green. And,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I've got the worst angle. Apologies to people watching the stream. This is like an angle that like your recently single uncle would. That's all right. I give a lot of uncle energy. Uncle Mike. Here we go. Let's party, everyone. Get lively in the chat. I love seeing those little things pop up. Just talk amongst yourselves. You can comment. Somebody said, did Michael and John grow their hair out for In Bloom? And I will say, in a way, I have. I haven't been home in a long time. Yeah, there it is. Cheesy Bread P. You really know how to pick a name. Yeah, we grew it out for the book. Part of the contract with Boom was we want you to both look disheveled. So here we are. Well, John doesn't look disheveled. John looks like the risen Christ, which is great for this time of year.
I feel like if you did combine us, then we would probably be closer to Alan Moore, the two of us.
Oh yeah, the hair and the beard. Yeah.
Anyway.
The personalities. Yeah, you got.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't know what the hell that means, Jeremy. What's the language? Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
What, are you expecting me to say fuck immediately? Everyone makes that joke. What's the language? You can say fucking whatever you want. And then everyone swears for a second. Smart people don't fucking swear too much.
Explains why I swear as much as I do.
It's actually the converse of that. I read somewhere that smart people swear all the goddamn time.
Let's go right into the synopsis of your guys' book. We got to read it early.
Everyone got a nice preview of it within the pages of Hello Darkness issue.
Yeah, hopefully people check
eight pages in there.
John, you killed it like usual. Last time we saw each other in person when we hugged, I whispered in your ear, I want to buy a page, but my wife is here. Now I'm kind of happy because I think I want to buy a page from
I forgot you said that.
Secrets from your wife. That's a good move.
She's standing there.
You don't bring your wife to New York, and then you can buy shit like this. And
Well,
then
who's gonna
Oh
carry
my
stuff?
God,
You get
wow.
yelled at later about
Look
it. So
at it. Yeah.
I just always have to show that off.
That is beautiful.
Synopsis for In Bloom.
Yes.
For those of us who don't know. Well, I'd know, but
So I'm gonna maybe cover a lot of ground, hopefully in short order. And it starts with me over a decade ago coming across an online article during a late night doom scroll, wherein I read something about basically half of an individual's genetic material within their body is comprised of things other than what is native to that individual. Which is to say, half of the genetic material in my body belongs to viruses, bacteria, fungus, a variety of other flora and fauna that populate my body. Of course, I found this a little bit alarming, and now I've come to peace with it due to a great amount of research that I put into it. But at the time, I was really kind of bothered by it because I like to think of myself as myself and not me being a host to ostensibly more stuff than just me. And from there, I came up with the initial idea for In Bloom, which was, what if these things that inhabit our bodies developed their own sense of agency and started to influence my behavior? And furthermore, it happens across the board, and it happens for everyone. Everyone's microbiota kind of wakes up, blooms, as it were. And from there, I came up with the idea of, with that at its core, and I pitched it around for a lot of years. And at the time, I had no professional work published. My first professional work was published in 2019, I want to say. And unfortunately, in comics, if you don't have a bunch of stuff to show for it, it's like you need experience to get the job, but you can't get the job without experience, kind of thing. So thankfully, once I accrued enough experience, I was finally able to legitimately pitch this thing. And it still kept having a bunch of, it's kind of weird. We don't really know what to do with it. We don't know where it fits on the shelves. All the kind of whack excuses that make sure that Western comics continue to be so homogenized and boring and dull. And I think I just stayed with them. I bugged them enough. I was like athlete's foot to all these people, which, by the way, is probably contributing to that percentage of genetics that aren't native to the body. Athlete's foot is a fungus. So like a fungus, I stuck around and eventually landed it with Boom, which, funny enough, was the first place that I pitched it to. I just kept sending them the same pitch. Eventually they were like, yeah, rework a couple things here and there. And I wouldn't rework anything. I'd send the same pitch again. And then finally it worked. So people out there pitching things, just stick around. You're going to find someone who believes in you. And the person who believed in me and in Bloom was an editor over there named John Moysen. He's the talent acquisitions guy typically, but he's also an esteemed editor. And I take it as a great mark of success that he was like, yeah, we want this book, but also I want to edit, which was amazing. And he said, could you put together for me a list of artists that, give me the list. I don't care if you think you can get it, just give me the list. Shoot big. And right at the top of the list, I wrote John J. Pearson, not expecting it to work out. And here we are a handful of days before the release of issue 1. And John really killed it on what you can think what you want about me. I prefer you think good things about me, and I prefer that you like the story of In Bloom, but it's certainly worth your admission fee just to bring home the Pearson artwork and to be able to have it up on your shelf.
It is beautiful.
It really is, and it's weird to say it's beautiful when it's a body horror book. It's a sci-fi crime body horror thing. So it's willfully touching that part in that little dangly punching bag in the back of your throat.
Your uvula.
Hey, I thought it was part of the vagina.
Maybe in Bloom it is for some
Yeah.
people. So.
But yeah, even in these disgusting moments, and that's why John is like the premier artist, and why he was the guy for this book, because I knew if he sinks his teeth into this and he likes it and he spends time with this and gets into that world, he's one of the few people working in comics right now who's capable of making something that's absolutely repulsive and repugnant, and it still looks good. It's like, I'm sure you've seen like a picture of like of a dead bird or something, and I hate the idea of a bird dying. But we've all seen a picture of like a fallen bird and been like, there's something kind of sadly beautiful about that. And John grabs that stuff, puts it in a bottle, and then spills it all over the page after page. So yeah, pick it up for John's art. Read it if you want, but flip through it. It's a visual medium. I know who I am.
Oh, bless you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Michael.
I'll say some cool things about me, John. We agreed upon this. We agreed upon this.
But it is true though, and I'm not just saying this because Michael has just prompted me heavily, but like there's no way that I'd be able to draw any of the content of In Bloom if it wasn't for the sensational world building that Michael's done for it. And I've said this time and again that the world building for the story that we're telling is so extensive and rich. It's just a beautiful sandbox to play in. And the beauty for me, I think, of In Bloom is that you have at the core of it this essentially like a noir, like detective story, but it's set against this expansive backdrop of this futuristic sci-fi world that is on the brink of something. And you'll see it as you're walking through with the characters through the pages, and you'll hopefully soak up that atmosphere and get a sense of that. But at the core of it is about the individuals, and again, their kind of interactions and their responses to what's happening and their reflections on that. So it's I think for me, that's something that's always at the core of what I do artistically, is finding ways that you can make those connections with the readers through the emotive visual storytelling. And it's so much easier when the story that you're working with understands that and understands that those moments are really precious. And that's something that at Thought Bubble, when me and Michael were together, we were talking about something that happens later on. And there was this, not a dilemma, but kind of an interesting take on how something should be done that would fit well with how a certain character would react in that situation. And that's something that is fundamental to the visuals, is how you can make it feel human, which is ironic in a story that is about becoming maybe more than human.
I'm gonna amend the very beginning of your synopsis when you say that it's a beautiful sandbox to play in. You're gonna change that to garden.
See, this is why editors.
Yeah, just rewind that bit. Like,
yeah, that's good. Wow, we got to bring you on, Jeremiah.
Oh,
We got to bring you on. We got to put you in the writers' room. It's gonna be you and me in this sex dungeon together.
Sex garden.
Don't tempt me. Do not tempt me.
You can have him though, for real. You can just take him.
You heard it here first. God.
Is this how you're finally firing me?
We tried. It just came back. I don't know how. So, John, you kind of went into this, but like, let's more so like the characters. Not even the characters themselves, but like the design of the blooming.
I want to double on this real quick, because not everyone blooms the same way. And it's different, like from the different examples that we see within the first issue, that even the diversity of the blooming is really unique to this story. Yeah. And I'm curious where you came up with those ideas. Specifically, like the one woman who's walking with the roots. That's a minor spoiler, but like she's got the roots underneath her while she's walking. So,
I mean, a lot of that is from Michael in the script. Michael will put in there'll always be like a few keywords for like characters that will be in the background or they'll interact, or it will just be kind of one catch-all word for the type of person, and it's basically riffing off that. So it's kind of nice that Michael will have these jumping off points of something that will just spark the imagination, and then I can just run with it. So yeah, I think a lot of the designs for the balloon people especially are a real collaboration with the visuals. I think the overall designs, again, there's that those specifics that will come from Michael that will be key to the storytelling, and then that'll be worked through in different ways that I'll kind of come up with different designs and then send them backwards and forwards. For the main characters and for the majority of this book as well, actually, I'm doing something slightly different where I'm casting people that will act as references. So I've always taken a lot of my own photo reference because what the style that I do is leans into that realism quite heavily. So for this one, I've casted individuals, and for Polak, that's actually Lola, who is the model for that. If you didn't
and we
know
know
that
Lola
already, and you know Lola, yeah. And the other one is my friend Yasin as well. But it's interesting taking them because they're both very expressive, and because I know them both quite well, it's really good to be able to get them to latch into the emotions, and then I can use that as reference and then kind of feed that into the storytelling and then riff off of that. But there's a whole kind of come into a lot of the character designs. I think I said on a previous podcast as well that when we were coming up with the designs for a lot of this, I was traveling around America over the summer, so I was going to places like Yosemite and visiting a lot of botanical gardens, and it was really interesting seeing firsthand a lot of that native flora and fauna to the US that I could kind of experience myself and then take on board and then think, well, how could that become a character? And I did a lot of initial designs that were they're almost like scientific diagrams where it was looking at the scope of how ballooned people can be, and it was a scale of like 1 where it would be somebody like Polak who just had a flower behind their head to like a 10 plus gargantuan walking pile of mush. So it was yeah, so I've got these like different diagrams of like the stages of blooming and then different headshots of the like potentials. So there was a lot of research earlier on for the characters and designs of it, thinking about that breadth. And you get a taste of that in the first issue as well, where you'll see loads of different people that are bloomed, and each one of them is very unique in different ways.
We're getting those diagrams in the back of the hardcover, right? Like we're getting all that extra shit when it all sells really well.
Yeah, when it sells really well, and when you put in your request to Boom that we get a hardcover edition of this.
I will gladly put in a request to Boom for a hardcover edition of this. Now, I want to peer behind the curtain just a little bit, especially because you two live on different continents and almost on the complete opposite side of the world. So how does the collaboration process work? Is it emails? Is it phone calls? Is it video chats? Obviously, you guys got to meet in person recently with Mike's trip around the world in 80 days. But I'm curious, like the normal conversations when setting it all up, how does that go about?
Yeah, I mean, it's not dissimilar to any kind of working relationship that you find yourself in, which is there's kind of the official conversation, which is, it's facilitated in a group email with the presence of editors, promotional people, everyone on the pertinent creative staff. And then there's other like just quick messages that we shoot each other that's kind of under the radar, where it's like, hey, this thing just occurred to me. Could you do this? There's drop boxes. There's notes within the script itself. There's John and I have seen each other a number of times, mainly because of John being in the States for a good amount of the previous year. So we were seeing each other at conventions with some frequency, where John could stare at me as I just continued to drink myself into obesity and kind of spout off about, oh, here's like a thing, here's like a wacky idea that I had that blah, blah, blah. And John could, based on his approval or disapproval, I would know, hey, I'm hooking into something that's going to make John want to go to the studio and sit down for a long time, which is something I think about frequently.
I just think chaining John to his desk.
Yeah. How do I just make him work all day every day? No, I think about how can I improve that part of his day? How can I make sure that the stuff that I'm incorporating in the script are things where he's going to be excited by it, and that kind of goes into the scripting as well. I often find myself thinking, how descriptive is going to feed John's imagination, and how much of it is going to paint him into a corner where he's like, oh, this panel needs to look exactly, or this page needs to be designed exactly like this. So I'm constantly thinking about John throughout the process of this. When he's not thinking about me, I'm thinking about him.
Story of my life.
He never thinks of me, you know. But kidding aside, I really do, with every moment that I'm working on the script, I'm thinking about what I love most about John's work and what I think he might love doing, and how I can make that work in the context of the story, and build the characters using John's strengths, because this really is at its core, it's a story about a small group of individuals and how they're responding to this very big sweeping change, which I find the big sweeping thing to be compelling and fun, because it means, oh, we could tell stories in this world till the end of time. But for this particular story, it's mostly about Spears' background with his family, and kind of the mysterious quantity that Pollock brings to the table, which hopefully people like Pollock as much as I do. Pollock is like quietly my favorite character, and I especially love Pollock because I just met Lola myself. And I was like, holy shit, like in my mind, I was like, holy shit, I'm talking to Agent Pollock right now. How amazing. So really cool. But yeah, the bromance is real. I think when you talk to creators, especially on creator-owned stuff, if the people working together don't really care about each other deeply, it ain't ever gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because we're in a blood pact together. You know, we're gonna see this thing through to the end. Even when issue 1 comes out and people are like,
no one's gonna be like that. No one's gonna be
you know
like
what?
that.
If they are like that, I will find them. I will. It'll be like that movie Poop Shoot thing in the Kevin Smith movie. I will go door to door, house to house. No, I think people are going to dig it. And I think that if nothing else, they'll see like, oh, that Michael guy and that John guy like really liked doing that. That was a cool thing. That was a moment for them. So
even with the
think...
first issue, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but even with the first issue, you feel the connection with the art and the story. It melds so well.
It really was like, it was a dream having John come on. It changed everything. Like I pictured somebody who would be serviceable in the role of art, and instead I got the person who elevates every element of it. It makes me work a lot harder.
I think like, because I got through the most recent script yesterday, I think it was, but I think even reading through that, it was evident from the start that Michael really feeds into the artist that he works with, and I knew this anyway before I worked with him, knowing like his work with Noah, for example. But I think reading the script, the most recent one I got through, you can see the development that as you've figured out, like, oh, John works in this way to this stuff. It's like you can see like where you've slowly like and subtly refined things that you know that I'm just gonna kind of run with. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, but there's a character that is just described as Worm Guy, I think, in the most recent one. And I was like, perfect. Yeah. Like, I know exactly what I'm going to do for that. So thank you. That was, yeah.
So we can also...
That made my day.
It's for you, Damien. It's for you.
We can swoon over John all night. I think we all have that ability.
Yeah, enough of that. John's also... John's a twat.
Let's talk about the other artists that you have with this. You've got a lot of variant covers coming out for issue 1, and then there's a B cover coming out for issue 2.
That was pretty good.
Oh, that works out like great.
Not bad. No high bind. So this is cover A.
Yep.
So
I was the model for that. He had me shave everything. I was like, "Do I really have to shave my butt for this?" And he's like, "Oh yes, you do." Not even in the painting, but now shave that thing.
Yeah.
There's also a Virgin, which I'm assuming a joke will come out of.
Oh, that is it foil? Is it going to be foil or?
I don't know.
It looks slightly foil.
I didn't see it solicited as foil.
Okay.
But I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the B.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Allison Sampson, amazing artist. Yeah, she's another UK-based artist who has been on my radar for a very long time, and I just think she's amazing. Her art is lovely, and yeah, read it and weep, yo. Look at that cover. It's so cool.
The cover D.
Jay Lee?
Yeah, you know Jay Lee. You know how he draws really beautiful people. Here's some not beautiful.
I like that it's not just a side profile like the most of his covers have been lately. Yeah. Not saying that Jay's lazy. I'm just saying Jay has a specific style that he goes for.
It's got a vibe. Yeah, when this thing came through, I've been a Jay Lee freak for a long time. I was reading, what was his weirdo image book way back in the day?
Oh God, Hellshock?
Yeah, I was into that. That was pretty edgy.
It would have took Kyle like 3 hours to reach that conclusion, but yeah.
And you know what? I found some other covers. So let's do issue 2.
Yeah. If you check out kind of center right, that green guy, I believe his name in the comic is Cactus Boy. Because some
fitting.
They show up and it's like, if I gave them a name, it wouldn't really serve anything other than to potentially confuse things in the script. So it's like you give the character description and then the name within the script is like the central piece of that description. We were talking about this. We gotta assemble a list and share it when the whole thing's done of all the dumb names that all these bloom characters have. But Cactus Boy is my hero. He needs his own miniseries.
Is he a bit of a prick, though?
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh
that's a good one.
I'm calling my lawyer. My lawyer is Kieran Gillen. Yeah.
Ooh, issue number 3 already.
Issue 3
solicited. Wow.
I found it.
Is that solicited?
I found it on Google. I'm not sure.
Maybe it leaked.
It's got the trade dress and all, so yeah. It's solicited.
I mean, this is the first time I've seen it outside of emails.
So really, Kyle hacked the email. Is really
maybe
what's going.
Because I also found this one.
Oh man, you found more than I found.
Yeah, that is gorgeous.
Beautiful. You went into my emails.
See, I want this signed in like a green paint pen.
I want this as a tattoo.
Oh, that's
I want that too.
Right?
Yeah, that'd be a sick tattoo.
And that's the cover. That's all I found. Sorry, nothing. I don't have issue 5 or 6 or anything.
Hey, do you think it's weird that John and I both use our middle initial?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I was going to make a comment about that earlier.
I couldn't decide for the thumbnail because I've seen it both ways. I was like, I don't know what to do.
I don't think we've ever mentioned this, but I've thought about that often. How
it's very odd.
It's the kinship.
It's just cool.
So I took mine. I used my middle initial because leading up to my first like mainstream thing that was published, which was an issue of Doom Patrol during Gerard Way's run. That's kind of like my point of entry.
With the Animal House imprint? Or the Young Animal?
Young Animal, yeah. Animal House imprint was a bunch of fart jokes.
That'd be cool, though.
Yeah. I would love to do that. My point of entry was Becky was at Thought Bubble. It's strange how the UK has played such a critical role in my career. She was at Thought Bubble with Gerard Gerard and her had just finished doing True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys for Dark Horse. And he was working on Doom Patrol at the time, and she was like, hey, listen, Michael Conrad's got like a really great Doom Patrol story. He's a huge fan. I got a Doom Patrol tattoo. Like, I love the whole gig. And she explained what my story was to Gerard, and he was like, oh, you don't want to do an issue of it? And she was like, yeah, let me check with Michael. He reached out to me.
Like, you're gonna say no.
Yeah, at the time I had been self-publishing a bunch of zines and like mini comics and stuff. So of course I was like, what the like, this is a crazy turn of events. So we put it together, and that was my point of entry. Why am I bringing this up other
Because
than
Becky's the best, and you just wanted to talk about Becky.
Yeah, I wanted to mention Becky. I wanted to mention Gerard.
We were talking about your middle initial.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Oh yeah. So when putting
someone's
together,
paying attention.
Yeah, thank you. So when putting together the credits for it, I did a quick Google search for Michael Conrad to see like if there was somebody else working in comics with that name or anything. And there wasn't anyone in comics. There's a Will Conrad, who I've actually signed Will Conrad comics before. This dude came up insisting that I did this comic, and I was like, no, I really didn't. It's Will Conrad. He's like, but the W, right? And I was like, yeah, that's for William, my middle name. And he was like, just sign it. So I signed it, and I was like, there you go, bud. But there's an actor, he was on Hill Street Blues, named Michael Conrad. So for search engine optimization, I included the W. And when I did it, buddy Jamie S. Rich, famed editor, was like, dude, you really gonna do that, huh? You're gonna use your middle initial? And I was like, yeah, it was good enough for you. And he was like, well, now you're stuck, man. You gotta use it on everything. Because Jamie's written stuff as well, and when he hasn't included the S in Jamie S. Rich, people have been like, they haven't understood that's the same person.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Two different people.
So now I get like a little touchy when people omit the W, but I'm trying to get over that because it was just Jamie. Like, who cares what Jamie's got to say?
So it's William. John, what's your middle name? Because we might have the same middle name.
It's Jesus.
It is Jesus. No, it's close. It's Joseph.
Oh, okay. my middle name is Jay, just Jay.
Oh, really?
Mine is also William. So.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be confusing if people are like, what's your middle? What does J stand for? It'll be like J.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what does it stand for?
When anyone asks like my middle name and they don't know me, it's like, it's in my first name. Like, figure it out. It's in my first name.
Kyle, what did you say your middle name is?
It is William.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
I was named for a
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a freaking minute. Hold on. So it's WMW. Like, it's where we lined it up.
Yeah, we're
okay. But sorry, my brain.
We got this side. You guys got that side.
Yeah. We're before you, anyways. So, what are the two of you most excited about for readers to experience with In Bloom? Is it the body horror aspect of it? Is it the crime noir aspect of it?
I already said it. I think the art is just gonna like floor people. I think John's doing stuff that rarely gets done in comics. It's like everything is super extra. I'll look at the art and be like, why did you work so hard on this? Like, you're going so hard on every element.
I mean, in all honesty, I will be crunching on a deadline. I get to the end and I'll be like, what the fuck? Why did I do that?
It's true, because like once you set the bar at a certain level, you can't be like, well, and we're gonna phone it in on these other things. It's like, no,
just an issue of everyone being upcycled. Like, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. But beyond the art, in terms of the story, I hope that people kind of get lost in the big idea of it all. One of the things, I never really read The Walking Dead, but I'm like aware, I'm aware enough of it and I've seen a couple seasons of the show. And I always just love thinking like, oh, we're just looking at like this one thumbnail of this great issue that's happening in this world. So I think that's like, for me, that's really compelling storytelling when you're there for the characters, and you're there for learning about them and how they're interacting with this thing. But I also like leaving so much room for the reader to be like, oh, this is happening in the city. What's happening in the little town next to it? What's happening in a different area of the country or a different area of the world? What's the bigger picture look like? And that's such like a weird pitch to be like, hey, I want you to think about the things that we aren't showing you.
I think that is like, that's one of the things that I'm most excited about is, and like we said before, is the extensive world building of it, and it's the richness of it. And I'm excited for people to read that first issue and hopefully experience some of that. But also, it's about the individuals as well. So on the one hand, you've got like the experience of this weird world that we're making, but also how we can hopefully make a connection with people through the characters that are inhabiting this world. So I think they're the two things. So I think on the one hand, it's like, oh wow, this place is cool. Like, yeah, what is happening? And I know from what Michael said before as well, the story has gone through different iterations of how it was going to look and where it was going to be set. So I think right from the start, the world building's been there and it's rich, and you have this core idea of these big ideas, but it can be translated to different settings. And I think that's something that's really exciting and should be shouted about. Is it doesn't just have to be this story in this place. There can be other stories about what is happening in this world in other places.
Kind of my first version of this was set in the suburbs, and it didn't really feature any violence or big action pieces. It was mostly about like, it was kind of based on like when you buy a house, sometimes you're part of like a housing authority or something.
Oh,
like
HOA, yeah. In America, we
HOA.
have those. I don't know if they have them in the UK.
An HOA is basically like, it's a community. It's not a legal entity. It's just the community has decided like, we aren't going to allow this type of tree. Everyone's house has got to be like one of these colors.
It has to be on the right side of the driveway.
Totally packages on your porch and or whatever.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe In Bloom 2 will be kind of more aligned with this when comic companies realize like, oh, all kinds of stories can happen in comics. It doesn't have to be a punch 'em, shoot 'em up thing. It can be about a community kind of encouraging somebody to upcycle themselves.
The idea of like a country family trying to deal with one of their family members and them.
There's so many analogs for that in the real world, right? Like with where I grew up, if you were queer, if you were a punk, if you were anything other than like this kind of small town yokel, I remember my brother dyed his hair, and this was like in the early 90s. He dyed his hair, and like everyone in my town was talking about it. Everyone was so freaked out by it. And now everyone has like any whatever color hair they want. But I remember that was like a big deal. My mom was like, never get any tattoos. May she rest in peace. I got all these crazy tattoos. Yeah.
Right.
So, fun question. And Jeremiah, I think you can answer this too. I'll allow it.
Oh, God.
I have a little bit of an answer. If you were to bloom and you somehow not could control, but just a preference, if it was going to happen, what preference of a bloom would you like? I would like something that was flattering, maybe some long petals to cover certain curves, some flowers to hide a receding hairline, just something. What would you choose if you could choose?
I'd get a bouquet out of my chest so I can wear deep V's.
Okay. You're both going for just really beautiful, like, tender stuff. I would have a big, like, Venus flytrap torso. Do you know that?
Of course.
In the thing where they go, like,
it goes, and then the
chest opens up and then it like bites the arms off. Like that, I love. When I was a kid, I used to play Warhammer 40,000 a lot, and there's like, I don't know if you ever played Warhammer 40,000, but like there's like a Nurgle beast, and it had like a big like mouth on its stomach.
I also love that you call it Warhammer 40,000 as opposed to Warhammer 40K.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to sound too nerdy and just be like, oh, you play 40k. But yeah, so like I'd have some big mouth torso.
And for you,
There you
Mike?
I would like. Are you familiar with something called the Jerusalem fern?
It's beautiful.
It's also called the resurrection fern. It's this thing, when it's been deprived of water, it kind of closes up into a tight little knot like this and it looks dead. But then when you put it in water in really short order, like you can watch it happen, it opens up and kind of spreads out and changes from like a brown or a gray to a green color. And it's beautiful. And it can dry out and come back and dry out and come back time and again. I've got several upstairs that I've like put in Ziploc bags and like traveled like in my big moves. I've brought them with me, and they dry out, they look dead, and then they just come back to life. I love symbolically what that can mean, and I also just I like that plant. Or I would like to have snapdragons growing out of me, which I don't know if you've ever seen a snapdragon. It makes beautiful flowers, and you kind of squeeze them, and it looks like a dragon's mouth. It opens and closes. But also when they die, and I encourage people to Google this, look up a dead snapdragon. It looks remarkably like a human skull. It's just a strange anomaly of that plant. And if it was nothing plant related, because one of the things about the bloom is it's your microbiota, so it can just change your genetic chemistry. The other thing that I would like is a giant dick.
Okay.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. I mean, don't we all?
Like a massive one. Like
So, how many issues will the
That's going to
first?
show up in a different
Yeah.
issue, like just
but also beautiful too. Like a beautiful.
Well, if it's massive, it has to be beautiful. There's no way it's not.
Have you seen that old kind of like woodcut illustration of the devil, like with a wheelbarrow with a massive dong in it?
That's me, post bloom, baby. Here I am.
So, in Bloom, first volume, how many issues?
Hold on, Jeremiah. You aren't gonna duck the question. Like,
I answered.
what did you say?
I would get like a bouquet of flowers coming out my chest so I can wear deep beads.
Chest hair.
Yeah, because I am a bitch and can't grow chest hair. Like, this is the most my beard gets. I can't do what all three of you can do.
I just wanted to fix my hairline. I just want a head of flowers. That's it.
Like, I might be 6'4", but this is my facial hair. Kyle might be like 5'3", but he's got beautiful facial hair.
5'4". Oh wait, I should have said something with that. Can I get some kind of like extension?
Everybody loves a short king. Come on.
Yeah, he's the best short king. There's a beautiful photo of at our wedding, my wedding, not our wedding. It could be our wedding, where I just look like an absolute giant.
Congratulations on your nuptials.
Yeah, we've been together for 12 years.
You make a smart-looking couple.
How many issues of In Bloom are we getting off the rip? Because I'm hoping that this isn't just one and done.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not one and done either. Like I said, I think there's a lot of room to tell a lot of story here. But for this story, 5 issues.
5 issues. Okay.
Right, John?
Yeah. 5 issues so far, but
yeah.
I think
I'm trying to rope John into just working with me exclusively for all time. Whatever John wants to do. Wherever John goes, I go. Wherever I go, I pay John to come along with me.
There's definitely room for more. It is a large.
Well, I mean, I think realistically, those first 5 issues can be extended for the main story, and then we have the spin-offs of
things, the sproutings of
the seedlings, the shoots.
You know how there was Fear the Walking Dead?
Yeah.
We're gonna call it Fear the Walking Dead in Bloom. And it'll be equally successful.
So if you guys had the choice, would you stay normal, would you bloom, or would you be upcycled?
I would stay as I am. I'm pretty content with my relationship with my microbiota. I like being in complete control for the most part. I'll like. Here's the thing: we aren't totally in control. Like the bloom already takes place. Like a lot of they say that a lot of like our taste like if you really love bread and pasta, like people are like, oh man, I don't know what it is. Like I'm so addicted to sweets or to carbs or whatever. A lot of times that's because your microbiota is like calling out to you for it. Very odd. Like we're already in bed with these guys and gals and all in between. We're partners. But as far as like blooming, yeah, it ain't for me. And certainly not being upcycled. Which I don't want to necessarily say what happens when you're upcycled, because I'm hoping people listen to this prior to reading the book, but you'll find out in issue 1 what that looks like. Maybe that's a good, maybe when I'm like right there, when I got one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel, then get me like that. But right now, I got too many years ahead of me. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I think that I too would rather stay human, but
what if you could grow another arm?
You could be more productive.
You could draw twice the comics, dude.
Yeah, but you don't get a choice though. So I could get another arm. I could become a part of the compost. I could.
True. Yeah.
So I think I would be reluctant to bloom. I wouldn't embrace the bloom. I'd be hesitant about it. Yeah.
Hesitant. You'd be like, yeah, I don't know. Oh my
god. Well, that's it, because it's a roll of dice, isn't it? So I'd be like, oh shit, like, am I going to get another arm? Am I going to get?
It's not spoiling anything to say that in Bloom, people are stoked to bloom.
Yes,
they're so happy.
They're excited,
and it's also culturally become like, oh, you're kind of a butthead if you haven't done it yet. Like you gotta go ahead and bloom. Like people are really into it. So I don't know. I'm a people pleaser. I'm a middle child, so maybe I do want to bloom.
I think like
sell comics. I don't know.
I think I always like.
I want to bloom and turn into Tom King.
Oh god!
I want to bloom into Rom V.
Oh god! You picked the wrong creator with Kyle at the helm.
Kyle, you're a Tom King.
I booted people for mentioning his name, but it's the first time we met. We'll let it slide.
Kick him out.
What if John vouched for you?
What if I was like old TK, but I was like super chill, like I am? Like if I was like, you know how I'm super chill and probably one of the coolest people you've ever had on the show. Like what if I was just
the capital THE, the coolest person we've had.
What if it was like that? What if we went and got matching tattoos and just what if I took you to Cabo, dude? You and me on the beach having a laugh.
Bring the sunscreen.
You are a very Irish human being.
You'd be cooking. You know?
Jeremiah, did you want to answer quick before we go to the next one? Because
I would bloom in a second. I would bloom in an absolute second.
Really?
Oh, without hesitation. One, I have really bad lungs, so I'm assuming that would help. And 2, this can always be improved on. So even if it gets worse, it gets better. So
what if everything apart from your face bloomed? What if it was just you became a tree, but it was just your face?
I practically already am, but yeah, that'd be cool too, though, because then I could be like that guy from Fallout in the Garden of Eden. What the fuck is his name? I'm gonna be so mad that I forgot it.
Lord of the Rings reference?
No, Fallout 3. He was also in Fallout 1 and 2, but he becomes a big part of 3. You have to kill him or leave him be.
I would upcycle, but okay.
Yeah. So do you want to hit this next part?
No, I don't want to spoil things. This page I found online. Okay, so it's not my fault.
You found a page online.
I found a page online. I'm just gonna.
Are you gonna show it?
I'm just gonna show it. It's a little quick, like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to talk about what's going on with Grandma here. kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
The excitement of like, it's your special day, Grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're dealing with a different world with people in a different mindset. People are going to read the book. They're going to find out what the upcycler is all about. But people are really stoked for it, and it's a place you bring. It's a place you bring people that are having trouble blooming, and
And
they
who you
end up,
love.
yeah, who you love. They end up serving the greater good. So I struggle with that kind of thinking all the time. I mentioned kind of in the pregame to this that I'm vegan. I am vegan for moralistic reasons, but I also understand that I, while I'm vegan because I don't want to be complicit in the taking of life, there's tons of lives that are sacrificed so that I can be vegan. And furthermore, there's a ton of suffering and global harm that's done with some of the things I consume. For instance, like harvesting almonds is really pretty bad. Same thing with like avocados, certain things that are like vegan staples. Yeah.
Cashews. You see cashews? Don't look up cashews.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You know I'm going to be looking it up. Maybe I'll find a whole new story there. So, yeah, I often think about, you know, what is the balance? What is the way that I can live? There's I don't know if it's a Hindu word. Forgive me, people who are familiar with this more so than I am, but there's a word ahimsa, which means dynamic harmlessness. And that's kind of the way that I've tried to live my life, is to be as harmless as I can while remaining dynamic. And part of being dynamic means often overthinking everything, to the extent that I have to think about what serves the greater good, what degree of sacrifice is acceptable for the greater good, how much does individuality matter in the great scheme of things. These are philosophical things that I wrestle with all the time. So, with regard to the upcycler and its presence within the world of In Bloom, the upcycler represents a really intangible thing that I wrestle with. Like, I know when the bloom happened, we know from the story, if we believe what's in there, that our microbiota simply wants to maintain a world wherein humanity can continue to exist, so that it can continue to have a host, so that it can continue to live. And it's willing to break a bunch of eggs to make that omelet. So I think if it's saving the world and it's saving the environment and it's saving humanity, how much of myself am I willing to compromise for that? I don't entirely know, and that's part of the reason that this comic book exists, and so that I can have this dialogue with myself and with the reader. And, you know, hopefully we aren't going to come up with a clean answer by the end of it, but hopefully it'll incite that discussion among friends, or at least internally, where you're saying to yourself, like, man, am I on Team Spears? Am I on Team Upcycler? Am I on Team this, Team that? Am I with the Lotus, who's kind of there in the periphery in issue 1? Yeah. We aren't in the business of making comics that are like, this guy's wearing these colors of spandex and he fights people who wear purple and green like, this isn't like black and white storytelling. This is hopefully something a bit more. And it's not me patting myself on the back. It's me living a life where I'm tortured by moralistic questions all day, every day. I beat myself up routinely about these philosophical questions. So there's a lot of suffering in this story. There's a lot of ugly shit going on in this story, and it's not for everybody. Like, there's some people who are going to pick this thing up and be offended by it or bothered by it. And that's not the intention. The intention is to get you one step closer to the mindset that people like John and I just live in. Like, we're just born we're born overthinking everything. And I suspect we aren't alone. Jeremiah, Kyle, I suspect you're like us, where it's like you can't just be comfortable. You can't
Not
just
as
be
cool
like,
as you, but yeah, we're very similar.
I mean, I think with the upcycler specifically in the comic is because it is ever present. It is always visible. It is always there. It is that representation of when you have these big moral dilemmas, or you're thinking about these bigger global issues and your place with them. It's not something that you can, from our perspective, just forget about and put away. It is always there. It is always visible. You can always see the smoke from it. And I think that's one of the core themes in the comic is contemplating the place of the individual in this wider tapestry. Like, do you get caught up in the individual threads of the tapestry, or do you look at the bigger picture? And what is our individual role in that, or what are the main characters' individual roles in that?
There's a reason they would make church spires so tall. Why the ramparts of military industrial complex reach toward the sky. Why nuclear power plants have these giant facilities. Part of it is psychological. It's look at this important thing.
I love the
Don't forget
idea
about it.
of people hating the upcycler, but not being able to not see it, or people, that's my goal. I'm gonna make it there.
Yeah.
And it can play both the hero and the villain in a way.
Yeah,
I love the idea.
It's a destination for everybody one way or another. So I think it's that kind of ever present object that holds a lot of weight.
Did you say you're from New Jersey, or was that you, Jeremiah?
No, yeah, I'm from Jersey. Here with the pollution and smog and overpopulation.
3 Mile Island.
you got the tallest water tower, which looks an awful lot like the upcycler, doesn't it?
It does. Yep. That's where I'm gonna head right when we're done here. I'm gonna go see if they'll take me.
I've got the longest mini golf hole in the world.
I think it's a minigun, man. Like...
Yeah, I wish.
How big is the hole?
So it's the length of it is the hole.
It's not the length. It's the way you do it. You know?
We are winding down, so I do get to have my little EXO interlude.
Oh right, I forgot. I said
yes,
you could do this.
And John, I love you. I don't want to exclude you, but I got a bone to pick with Mike. Not a bone. I love this. This is great. Invictus is going really well. I'm enjoying that as well. They better collect it in a hardcover. I'm going to be upset because I've got a thing going.
It looks like you enjoy Valiant.
So my one weird question is, you jumped on at a very interesting point in Valiant, where the company was going through a massive change, going towards Alien books, and this was really Alien's first real swing at it. And you and Becky had a really good fun run with this with Liam. How do you feel being able to take their tentpole character and play in that sandbox and what you guys have done with it? As a Valiant fan, as someone who is kind of struggling to keep carrying this flag because of the way that things are going.
So. It is really hard to be to hang with it through so many seed changes within the publisher. I started reading Exo Manowar particularly in the 90s, like during the first run. I think the first issue I picked up was like issue 3. Then I quickly got the other ones, and I read it continually from then until like the Image crossover.
Oh, Deathmate?
Yeah, and then I kind of fell off because that was like kind of around when I was like, I read Vertigo comics.
Not superhero books? Yeah.
I was like, I'm a full-grown boy now, you know? And then I kind of fell off, and then I would like poke in every now and then, like particularly during like the Kint run, I would like check in. So, but I've always loved that character so much, so much.
He'll be going on here eventually. It's like I got
hell yeah.
He'll be going.
Oh, you got the spirit. Oh yeah, you got a bunch of bangers on there. So. It was before Alien acquired Valiant. The editor that was over there was Rob Levin, who is now the Gotham editor over at DC. but at the time he was kind of like the head honcho of Valiant. He came to Becky and I and was like, "Hey, like, you can write whoever you want. Who do y'all want to do?" And so I pitched to Becky. Didn't know any of the.
Of course she didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
she's great, but
She just didn't know anything about Valiant. And I was like, I really want to do like an Ivar book, and I like had all these big ideas about
there
Ivar.
hasn't been an Ivar book in a long time.
There hasn't been one, and there's been good Ivar books that I liked quite a bit. I think Fred Van Lente did one that was pretty good. But I've got an idea for it that I think is great, but it's like really grim, and I love time travel. I love bootstrap paradoxes, stuff like that. I was like, oh, I could do something sick. Showed it to Becky, and Becky was like, is Ivar like their big character? And I was like, no. No one knows who Ivar is.
Yeah, Ivar's a little low.
And she was like, well, who are the big characters? And I was like, it's probably Bloodshot or Exo Manowar. And she's like, what's a Bloodshot? And I was like, he's like a dude with a healing factor who shoots guns. She's like, what's an Exo Manowar? And I was like, he's a Visigoth in alien armor. And she was like, we're doing that.
When you pitch it that way, how is she going to say no to that?
So I think that pleased Rob, because he wanted us taking on something bigger than Ivar, I'm sure. And then it was super easy. And then Rob left and Lisa Hawkins took over. She's still in command over there, and she's great. But because of the acquisition from Alien, there was like all these weird things where like 2 issues came out, and then like there was a huge delay before the 3rd issue came out.
And then they reprinted the first 2 issues.
It was so hard for me to like even know how to promote the thing on my socials or whatever. And it's like, man, you're fucking up. You got Liam did the art for this.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's one of those whatever about the story. It's Liam fucking Sharp did the art. Like, dude is out of control. Like, just make sure the book comes out on time and that you're gassing it up to the best of your ability, and it's a win. But the publishing cycle was like kind of funky with it. Hopefully people like check it out and trade and appreciate what we did with it. Invictus, I don't want to speak poorly about a publisher, but it was a fucking shit show to try and do. It started out being like X amount of issues and kept changing like midstream. So we're consistently like protracting and extracting, like trying to make it fit the format that they wanted it in. Everything was kind of like under the gun. This is no fault of anyone, really. It's just the comics are messy
Nature
sometimes.
of the beast, yeah.
Ultimately, I think what we ended up with was pretty good, but that kind of led to why Becky and I are not currently doing anything with Valiant right now. When we left, Becky's gonna go do her Becky thing, but I was like, hey, I fucking love Valiant. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
I was curious if you were going to be a part of Valiant Beyond at all. So
yeah, I mean, if my phone rings, I'll pick it up. You know what I'm saying? But I'm also like, I'm busy enough that I'm not necessarily going to be banging on their door. I know that there's going to be more EXO, and I know who's going to be writing it, and I know that the writer is quite good.
And we can talk about that later.
Yeah. The minute we stop being for the public, I'll let you know who it is.
Okay. Any other projects that you guys want to mention? Obviously, John Infernals is coming out and collected. Anything else that you guys want to plug?
Yeah, in March, I've got a book called Neptune that's currently available on Comixology, but it will be in print from Dark Horse. It's big. It's like 125 pages or something. It's a story about a kid who gets out of prison. He's been not a kid. He went to prison as a kid. Spent 17 years there for a crime that he took the fall for. And when he gets out, he goes to try and see what the other people who were part of that crime have been up to. And in the process, he discovers that his brother's suicide may or may not have been something else entirely. So it's a mystery. There's a ghost in it. There's really great art by Nathan Newton. Yeah, it's Dark Horse in March. And also, I've got a book called The 99 Legs with my frequent collaborator, Noah Bailey, that will be popping up on Comixology Originals sometime early next year. But I'm very excited about that. And if you don't know what Noah and I have done, you can check out from Dark Horse either Tremor Dose or Double Walker or both. They're both in print, and I'm really proud of them. And they're probably the reason that John agreed to work with me. Honestly, like, he probably saw those books and was like, okay, like, this is good shit. And it's because the art's awesome. A good artist makes you seem like a good writer.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I think that was, I think Double Walker and Tremolos were the first things that I read that you'd done, and yeah, they're great. So yeah, it was, and like knowing you and knowing Noah as well, I knew the collaboration between you two is a close knit relationship. So I knew it wasn't just like, here's the scripts, give me the art. Like, so yeah, so I knew that you go full collaboration.
They're part of our polycule.
Yeah, love it. Then this, I'm not doing too much because you've seen the art. So yes. I'm just crunching away at this. I'm doing bits of illustration as well, but nothing else.
You've got that great. Hold on, John. You got that great thing print, don't you?
I've got the thing. Yeah. So like, at Thorvald, there was a officially licensed Thing poster, the John Carpenter movie, The Thing.
Putting it up in post.
Yeah, it's going to be up here somewhere. So yeah, so that came out a couple of weeks ago. So in line with the body horror stuff in Bloom, I've done my take on John Carpenter's Thing, and it's also a huge influence on In Bloom. I mean, you can look at the cover that I've done. It's basically a homage to the poster of The Thing. So yeah, so that is available now from Vice Press in the UK, as well as the Suspiria work that I've done. So yeah, so you can check that stuff out, but most importantly, check out In Bloom next week.
Next week?
Yeah, In Bloom is our baby. Like, if In Bloom is the first thing that you read by me, I'm very happy, because it means you're getting a nicely refined, mature version of me as a writer, and working with an artist that I adore. I couldn't
middle initial and all.
Middle initial, which we learned that it's John Jacoby Pearson. It's John Jacoby Shaddix.
I thought it was John Jacobs.
You got the same name as, what's the name of that band that's like, losing my sight, losing my mind?
Wish somebody would tell me how to find it.
We're gonna get the money. Yeah, it's Jacoby. It's Jacoby.
Yeah. Hey, I used to tell people, when people would say Jesus H. Christ, I would tell people, hey, you know that Jesus' middle name was Hoobastank? And that's where the band got their name from, and people believed it.
I would have believed that 100%.
Jesus Hoobastank Christ. Yeah, get In Bloom, Captain Chaos. I like you. Yeah. Where's Dr. Cheesedick or whatever?
Dr. Cheesedick.
Cheesy bread.
There you are, baby. I knew you didn't go anywhere.
Would you guys like to plug your socials as well?
Yeah, you can.
I think we're both just at John J. Pearson.
Yes, you can find us both.
Yeah, if you need me, if you have any complaints about me, I'm mostly on Instagram at John J. Pearson.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got any issues with any of the things I've said or done, it's at John J. Pearson.
Message Michael through me, and then I'll pass on.
John, I was hoping you could let Michael know that, man, he's a good-looking dude. So, yeah, we're both just at our names, at Michael W. Conrad and at John J. Pearson on most social media. But I heard John say one time that Instagram's the best way to reach out and touch him. So
yeah, definitely Instagram. Like, you can go on there, find me posting stuff just on Instagram. Yeah.
And you can catch me. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. But mostly on Adult Friend Finder is a good spot to. I check the DMs on that mostly nightly.
Well, thank you both. Thank you both so much for being here. I mean, I can't praise the book enough. I mean, it's such a cool and creative idea. You've hit multiple genres in one thing, and then John, I mean, it's like every page, it's like just something you've never seen before in your whole life. Like every single page turn is a new experience that you'll never find anything like again. So the combination of you two is just fantastic, and I'm very excited to get into the next issue. And everybody, a week from today, you must also get into the first issue because the release date is a week from today.
I'm great
And I'm
with
going to
numbers.
post
So
a
what's
ton
that,
about
12?
it for the next
12?
week.
No,
Is it the 12th?
11th.
11th, December 11th.
11th.
Yep.
I pulled up the calendar. It's 11th.
It's
I'm great with
December as
math.
well,
I was
so-
trying to add 7 to 4 and got 12.
I think
Listen,
it's an excellent Christmas present for people as well. So I think
Yes.
you can pick up multiple copies.
that
If people-
first page, if that first page doesn't hook you, you're not looking at the right book.
Yep.
There's so many good pages. There's so many.
That first one, when you sent me the email, that first one, I was like, all right, yep, nope, I'm sitting down right now.
Thank you again.
I'll tell you this much. If it wasn't for Paneloids, I don't even know where I'd be right now.
That's a sound clip. We're still...
I'd probably be.
Was that unprompted?
Actually, no,
I'd like to think that.
I know exactly where I'd be. I'd be upstairs on my couch.
Not
I'd
in
be
the
playing. I'd be playing Magic the Gathering Arena on my cell phone, pretending to watch a movie. I'd be eating a sandwich.
Mm.
Ooh, what's that?
I might even. I'm gonna dare to dream. I might have walked to the corner store during this time. Picked up a couple of clinkers. Yeah. Hey, appreciate you. Thank you so much for having us on.
No, thank
Always
you
a
for giving
pleasure.
us an hour of more than an hour of your lives.
I can't wait to go into hour 3.
Oh yeah, we're not done. We're gonna do the after show without the
Let me
live.
tell you about this book I've been reading, bro. You got more time? No? All right, fine.
Jeremiah, do you have any
Down.
outro
Hey,
planned?
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. In Bloom, in stores, December 11th, and buy the shit out of it so we can get a nice, beautiful hardcover and get all of John's extra goodie content in the back of it.
Let us know when we can circle back, talk to you more about it. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk soon.
Hugs
so
and
much.
kisses, everybody.